Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So, I suppose since we're the ones who showed up, we should just go ahead.
Okay. You want me to start, Brother Shankara?
Please do, dear.
Okay. We are on page 528, the last paragraph. On 6th July 1916, Saradananda left for Kolpara, accompanying Holy Mother and her companions on the way to Calcutta. On the evening of 7 July, a sub-register from Kotalpur came to Kolpara to register the trust deed. Swami Ishanananda wrote, "We were amazed observing Swami Sharadananda's love, sincerity, and thoughtfulness in performing the mother's work. It was arranged that the sub-register would come by palanquin to Kolpara in the evening for the registration. At the courtyard of the mother's cottage, the Swami spread a carpet, put a bolster on it, and had at hand a pack of cigarettes, a betel roll, and a hand fan. After a while, the sub-register arrived and alighted from the palanquin. He was a Muslim, 27 or 20 years old. The Swami was quite heavy and over 50. But the Swami got up and received him cordially. When the sub-register sat, the Swami began to fan him. We took the fan from him and he offered a cigarette, tea, and betel roll. The sub-register did not know the Swami, but felt a little embarrassed seeing our respect for him. The sub-register asked the mother a few questions, and she softly answered, sitting on the veranda. She then put her thumb impression on the document, and it was registered. The Swami served refreshments to the sub-register and walked him to his palanquin. When he left, the Swami felt a great relief that an important task had been accomplished. It was a great lesson for us, seeing the Swami's humility in performing the mother's work. The next day, the mother and her companions left for Calcutta and arrived at Udbodhan on 8th July 1916.
So hold on just a moment.
Sure.
For those of you who don't know that much about Swami Sharadananda. Of course, is true of every author. You can find him in his work. And perhaps his greatest work was that book, The Great Master, or retranslated by Swami Chaitananda as Sri Ramakrishna, His Divine Play. Swami Sharadananda deserves our attention. He was a truly remarkable human being. He served the order. First, he served the master. He was one of the ones who took care of him so carefully when the master was spending his last days at Kashipur. The master said of him that he was one of two of the master's disciples who had also been direct disciples of Christ. The other was Swami Ramakrishnananda. So if you have an inclination to read something, you can read in the books. I can never keep the titles straight, but there are two books, one about the householder devotees and one about the monastic devotees of the master. Both of them, the two titles are He Lived with Them and They Lived with Him. And I think They Lived with Him is the one. In any event, you can find it. So Swami Sharadananda is truly worth our attention. There's another book by Edith Tipple. The title of the book is What the Disciples Said About It. And it records everything that she could find on any particular topic. Just say the topic renunciation. What did each of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, what could she find that they said about that topic? And Swami Sharadananda, as you read through what the disciples said about it and glean his wisdom, you see this tenderness, you see this sincerity and sweetness. And so anyway, I just thought before we moved on that I would draw your attention to Sharadananda. He's the one who, of course, Mother's life would have been entirely different if it hadn't been for Sharadananda's attention. He's the one who built the place for her in Calcutta so she would have a place of her own. And of course, he assisted with all of the improvements in Jairambati, including what we just read about, this registration of the property to a trust, the mother's property to a trust that would be under the jurisdiction, the administration of Bilramat. So Swami Sharadananda, and if you have some time that you want to spend reading about the order and its great souls, he's one who deserves your attention. Any comments or questions from anyone? Anyone know anything that they would like to add about Sharadananda, or any question they would like to ask about it? Okay, dear, read on.
Okay. Holy Mother had strong common sense and kept a keen eye on every detail. When the new residence was completed, the Union Board imposed a tax of 4 rupees and collected the money from Jnanananda. Holy Mother was then in Calcutta. The next year, when the village watchman came to collect the tax, the mother said to him, "Why have you imposed such a large tax on this property? Try to reduce it. I shall be able to pay this tax, but during my absence, how will these monks pay the tax? They maintain themselves by begging for food and clothing." The mother did not stop there. On 19 March 1918, she wrote a letter to Prabodh Chandra Chattopadhyay, one of her disciples and the headmaster of Bedaganj High School. "My son, perhaps you know that the Union Board has imposed a 4 rupee tax on this property for the village watchman. It seems too high. So yesterday, I sent a letter to Shambhu Babu, Shambhu Rai, President of the United Board, through Brahmachari Gopesh. I mentioned in that letter that this property had been dedicated to God and I am not the owner. Moreover, I am not a permanent resident of Jairambati, and this property does not have any income. The monks and brahmacharis who live here as caretakers are not supported by this property. Under such circumstances, it is not possible to pay this permanent heavy tax. I somehow manage my household expenses by the voluntary contributions of the devotees. There is no income from this property." In reply to this letter, Shambhu Babu,
Hold
sure,
on 1 minute.
sure.
When they say that Mother had common sense, she not only had good common sense, she had good business sense. She knew how to write a business letter. She knew what to point out about all of the facts that she had assembled in her mind that were an argument against this heavy tax. And it presented so well. I mean, she was so many things, including a good businesswoman. What an amazing creature. Okay, in reply to this letter.
In reply to this letter, Shambhu Babu said that he had already told you to write a letter to the district magistrate. I don't know whether you have done anything in this respect. I hope you will take action as soon as you receive this letter. Please do what is right. Shambhu Babu further said that it should be mentioned in the application that this is a religious institution. It has no income. It is maintained with the help of the generous public. With blessings, your mother. Holy Mother can no longer be seen with our physical eyes, as she is now residing on a spiritual plane. But we can visualize her divine play in this world by meditating on the reminiscences of her given by those blessed ones who lived with her. Different attendants of the mother recorded their accounts of her life from their various perspectives, and these accounts help us to visualize how she lived, worked, and interacted with people. In fact, all these details help to make a biography living, and this is why we are including in this book all the relevant reminiscences of her.
Now let's just pause a moment
Sure.
and hear Swami Chaitanananda saying to us, a living biography. This is not someone who's gone and passed away into history. She's still with us on the spiritual plane. And we can get a sense of her and build a relationship with her. That is the key point. Build a relationship with her based on our love and understanding and appreciation of the mother. So that when we are in such situations, as she said, when you are in distress, remember you have a mother. All of this can come up in us. And so when we call on her, we can feel as if we're calling on someone we truly know and love. And that's why the Swami says what he says. Please read that again. Please read that statement by Chaitanananda again, so that we get a sense of what he's suggesting to us.
You want me to read the last paragraph again one more time, Brother Shankara?
Let me go back and see where it starts.
Holy Mother can no longer be.
Yes.
Holy Mother can no longer be seen with our physical eyes, as she is now residing on a spiritual plane. But we can visualize her divine play in this world by meditating on the reminiscences of her given by those blessed ones who lived with her. Different attendants of the mother recorded their accounts of her life from their various perspectives, and these accounts help us to visualize how she lived, worked, and interacted with people. In fact, all these details help to make a biography living, and this is why we're including in this book all the relevant reminiscences of her.
So if we take this to heart, and we do as the Swami suggests, the mother becomes a living presence for us, not someone. I mean, it's remarkable how close to us she lived. She only left this world in 1920. That's just 100 years ago, 101. It's 2021. So that's very recent, very recent. But even so, for us to have this sense of relationship with her, it's good to take to heart what the Swami is suggesting. Any comments or questions from anyone? Anything to add from your own appreciation or understanding of the mother, or anything that you'd like to ask?
She's truly a role model for us, Brother Shankara, in working in personal life, in a business way, in a spiritual way, all areas of life. Yes. She has become a role model for us, how to approach things in a calm fashion, composed, very well composed.
Calm and compassionate.
Compassionate
a
way.
Loving fashion.
Exactly.
So this is the relationship that we want to have with the world.
Truly, yes.
And so you're so right, Haima. She is a role model.
Role model.
But a role model, is not something you put on a pedestal. It's something you pull into your heart.
Into our hearts.
So that when you face a given situation, you can think, well, how would the mother respond? How would the mother respond to this? Male or female, it doesn't make any difference.
Doesn't matter.
As Mirabai pointed out, are not all souls female before God?
That's right.
So it doesn't matter whether we're male or female. We can have Mother as our role model.
Example.
She was the one who stayed and helped manage the world for the Master after he left the body, and is still doing that. So this is why I keep emphasizing this idea of relationship. Again, anything else anyone would like to add or ask?
Brother Shankara,
Yes,
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
We spoke a while ago about her living presence, and I'd like to briefly share that in 2009, only a few years ago, when Neera and I went to Jarambati for the first time, and we took a tour of the area, and the tour guide took us to a temple that Holy Mother used to visit for prayers.
Yes.
And the roof of the entrance, roof above the entrance to the shrine was very low and had a corrugated tin extending at an angle. So we had to bend down to get in. I did not bend enough, so I got hit by the metal on my forehead and I started bleeding. So I simply put the handkerchief, went inside, and when I came outside, I was so surprised. There were two gentlemen waiting. They had some concoction, some paste that looked like a mustard color paste. They said, we want to apply it on your forehead. They applied it and they said, leave it, let it dry for a few hours. And they didn't give me a chance to ask their name or who they are. They just walked away. I could not believe that Holy Mother's presence was right there at the shrine.
Yes. Well, this is the intent of the remarks that have been made.
And I've saved the dried up powder that came off my forehead afterwards.
Well, it is a relic of Jairambati, isn't it?
Yes. But speaking of Mother's presence, I really felt at that time and now also, I'm reminded again and again of her living presence in my life.
Well, good. And that's exactly what we should be. Exactly as we should do. Thank you very much for sharing that, Vijay. That is a lovely reminiscence of Jairambati and of the mother and what happens when there is such a soul in such a place. Anything more from anyone?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear?
did Holy Mother have much in the Sharda Mutt establishment?
No, Sharada Mat wasn't established until 1954.
Oh,
Now, I say that. I say she didn't have much to do with it. She, of course, was 34 years out of the body. But who knows how much influence she had over the monks who were making the decision about whether or not to start that institution. Who knows? I mean, Swami Aseshananda, one of her direct disciples, had a living relationship with her. I mean, he was working in the United States in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. this amazing Swami. He was in Portland. And he had a direct connection with her. Direct. I mean, you would ask him a question that you wanted addressed to the mother. Toward the end of his life, he would simply stand there. His eyes would roll back in his head. And in a few moments, he would give you the answer. That's how direct the connection was in the 1960s and 70s between Swami Seshananda and Holy Mother.
Brother Shankara, was he the one in Portland?
Either one what?
Swami Ashishananda, was he in Portland, Oregon?
Yes,
Oregon? Yes.
that's where he headed the center there for decades. I don't know just how long. He was that was where he was posted. Mm-hmm. And you know, I don't want to. I could speak to you for an hour about or more about Swami Seshananda. Such a soul. But the reason I brought that up was that if he had that kind of connection with Holy Mother, there must have been others among the decision makers within Belar Mat, the mission, the Matan mission that was making the decision about Sarada Mat and its beginnings in 1954, that had that connection with her. So the question being, did she have any influence, as Swayam asked? Well, I can't answer the question directly, but I can certainly say that there must have been some who were in direct communication with her. And if you study, if you just look into it a little bit, all you have to do is go online and put in Sarada Mat. It is a very successful institution. And the nuns who come from there, they are absolutely, I mean, they shine. They just glow. There was one who used to come regularly to Hollywood. Her name was Vivekapran. Oh my goodness. Not only did she shine, but she was such a good speaker. So Sharada Mat is definitely, it's right next to the Dakshineshwar temple, where the master spent his son. And they don't own anything of the temple. They're not involved with it in any direct way. It's right next door.
But so far, none of them have ever come and taken over a center in the West, have they? From Sharada Mat?
They've never established a center in the West. No, they have been asked to on a number of occasions, and so far their decision has been no. There have been American women who have joined, not here, gone and joined there and become Sharada Mat nuns. So it's a tough life. That is not a. There's no. I don't know anything more than that. That it's a very demanding life. This is what I've been told. John Schlink, who used to live here for a bit, was one of the few men who'd ever been in Sharada Mat. And he came there because of his musicianship and their great respect for his musicianship. He came and on 2 occasions performed for them. And he was one of the ones who told me directly what a demanding life those nuns
Do they allow like women visitors? Like
Oh, yes, yes, yes. You need to make arrangements well beforehand. And I have no idea with the virus, with the pandemic, what the situation is. But yes, women are welcome. Devotees, it's no tourists. Devotees. That's why I say you need to make arrangements if you decide you want to go. The thing to do is talk to Sarvadevananda about it, and he will make arrangements for you.
In what way is it demanding, Brother Shankara?
Well, as I said, Katrina, I'm not exactly certain, but they have a very rigorous schedule, which starts at 3 a.m. They have all of their, it's very familiar if you look into the monastic rule of many of the demanding orders, whether they're Catholic or otherwise. It starts at 3 a.m., lights out at 9 p.m., and they are working and they are working or praying or doing the things that elevate the spirit during the day. I don't know any more details than that. If you go online and just type in Sharada Mat, you might be able to find out more about it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Namaste, Brother Shankara and everybody.
Yes, namaste.
Just few words about Sarada Mat. Sarada Mat has several centers in India, and one of them is in Pune, which was, I think, where I come from, and it was established, I think, in the mid 80s. And both my sisters, my older sister and younger sister, they are associated with that center there.
Uh-huh.
And my younger sister actually was more seriously interested in joining it, but later on it was difficult. So the devotees part, both the centers, the Ramakrishna Mutt and the Sarada Mutt, they are about a kilometer away. But I never went there. Usually guys are kind of discouraged. But some of the days, on the puja days, it's open to everyone. But if you're a woman devotee, you can go anytime. They have the visiting hours, whatever it is, from 9 to 12 and 4 to 6 or 4 to 8. And it's just exactly same as what we have at the Ramakrishna Mutt. Women are allowed and they're encouraged, and there are a lot of activities for women. They do a lot of women upliftment and other activities, but they are their scope is within the center most of the time. Mm-hmm. One of the challenging things what I have seen is that those women who come there, most of them obviously I've seen from Pune, but they are Indian, and any Indian woman, she has to, an Indian guy has to put a lot of sacrifice to get into the order, family opposition and whatnot. And you can make that twice for a woman or more than that, because it's very challenging for women, parents to allow their daughter to become a nun or something of that sort, or become an active member there. Mm-hmm. So that's what I've seen. And, but they are, like you said, they are very glowing, they are shining examples of renunciation. And I've seen the Matajis, the head of the center, sometimes visit the Ramakrishna Mutt, and I've met them. I've seen them, but they are very. It's one step above the men's order, I would say, with cleanliness and organization and food and everything. It's my sister visits, and my older sister even now. She will tell, but it's amazing. It's a great organization. Well, and I would say, some women devotees, if they get chance, they should go and stay there, because then they can, because it's a different connection, I would say. If you go and stay at this, yes, as a woman devotee, when you go to a Ramakrishna Mutt, there are certain restrictions for women. But if you go, a husband can go and stay in a mutt, and then the wife can go and stay at the Sarada mutt, and it is amazing experience. I'm telling you that if you do that, you will really love it.
This is the thing about it. If you go, you have to participate in their schedule. You can't go as a tourist. You
Yeah,
have to, if you know, if you go, you get up with them at 3 a.m. and you do the practices, and you will have work to do and so on. It's not something to go as a sightseeing activity, which is largely true for men when they go to the Ramakrishna, the men's monasteries as well. But they're a little less demanding, usually because they'll have a guest house that's off the property or part of the property, but not. It's anyway. We don't want to get off on all those details, but it's it's inspiring to go, and anyone who has the opportunity to go and visit Belur Mat, man or woman, I highly suggest. And if you do, go to Mangala Arati, go to the 4:30 a.m. Arati service. And all I can tell you is from my own experience and from others, you will be very glad you did. Anything else from anyone before we read on? What time's it gotten to be?
We still have time.
Oh, there's still plenty of time,
We
yes.
still have time.
All right, please read on.
Okay, is everybody hearing me okay and understanding? Am I too fast or too slow or anything? Any comments from you,
No,
Brother Shankara?
you've been reading very articulately, dear.
Okay,
Just maintain that pace, and it's your understanding that of the text that helps us understand you. So as you read, go slowly enough to where you really are understanding what you're saying.
Thank you, Brother Shankara. Okay, Swami Ishanananda described the mother's daily routine in her new residence in detail. As per her usual habit, the mother would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. After washing, she would pick up the master's picture from the bed and wipe his face with a piece of wet cloth. Some days she would hum a couple of lines from a Hindi bhajan as follows. In the morning, Mother Kaushalya awoke Ramachandra and asked her son to do good to men, sages, and gods. She then began to practice japa sitting on her bed, and later she would lie down. If Radhu's child cried in the other room, she brought the baby in with her. When the mother got up and opened her door, we would get up and practice japa sitting on her floor. Some days she would ask us to repeat a certain mantra of a certain deity. After sunrise, the mother would drink Ayurvedic water made from soaked coriander, jute leaf, and gram. She then began to cut vegetables, and others joined her. At that time, newcomers would come to bow down to her, and she talked to them. The mother would feed the gram that had been soaked overnight to her pet parrot named Gangaram.
I just love it that Mother had a pet parrot named Gangaram. I just love it. It's just so like her to have this. I don't know. It's just inexpressible how that just touches the heart.
As her body began to be feeble due to old age, she took Makaradwaj, which is an Ayurvedic medicine, with the pomegranate juice in the morning. The mother would send us to collect more vegetables and other groceries from the markets of neighboring villages, as there was no market in Jairambati. The mother dictated the grocery list and then brought the money from a box in her room. Whenever she received any money, she touched it to her forehead and put it in the box.
Let me just stop.
Sure.
She would never look at whatever the amount was.
Yes.
Whatever, they would just put it in her hand. She would touch it to her forehead and put it in the box.
Yes.
It wouldn't matter if it was 100 rupees or 5 annas or whatever. And the mother would just take it, touch it to her forehead and put it in the box.
Whenever she received any money, she touched it to her forehead and put it in the box. And when taking it out, she again did the same. She gave me a maximum of 50 rupees at a time for shopping. The money was arranged in piles of 10 rupees, not paper money. We generally found in her box 15 to 20 rupees, one thermometer, a small pair of scissors, a bundle of thread, and some small cloth bundles. These small cloth bundles contained different items, such as a little clay from the Simhavahini temple, a little opium that the doctor...
Hold on just a moment. That was the temple that Vijay mentioned earlier. That
Simhavahini temple.
That was the temple that she used to go to often. And the clay from there healed her on one occasion.
Wow. A little opium that the doctor prescribed for her stomach, dry rice prasad of Lord Jagannath, 6 or 7 strands of the master's hair, and a small piece of the asana on which the master sat during meals in Dakshineshwar. When she was cleaning the box, while leaving Jairambati for the last time, she gave the last bundle to me and said, "You keep this one with you." At 9 o'clock in the morning, the mother would bathe in the pond or sponge herself with warm water if she was not well. Afterwards, she worshipped the master and Gopala. Later, she gave initiation if there were any candidates. She then distributed the prasad to the devotees on sal leaves. If there were not sufficient fruits and sweets, she would make some halwa, which is farina pudding, and offer it to the master. The mother ate a little puffed rice and drank a glass of rock candy syrup that had been offered to the master. She then cut vegetables and supervised the cooking in the kitchen. She prepared beetle rolls with the thin slices of betel nut, fennel seed, and other spices, as she had been taught by the master.
Hold on just a moment.
Yes, okay.
Those beetle rolls made just that way, the way the mother used to make them, would be served at her puja and at Durga puja, and maybe one other time, maybe the master's puja, but I remember especially the mother's puja. And they would be given to the devotees, and they had been very carefully prepared by devotee women of the Hollywood Center, and we would receive those. Very tasty. Unusual, for a Westerner. The taste combination is very unusual. But the fact that the mother prepared those with her own hands in her time. What a thing to think of. Please go ahead, dear.
Okay. During this time, her attendant read the devotees' letters to her, and she dictated the answers. About 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the cook would inform the mother that the food was ready for offering. After washing her hands and feet, she carried the Panchapatra puja utensil and addressed the master this way: "Food is ready, please come and eat." It seemed the master was going with her to the kitchen. Some rice and vegetables were placed on a stone plate, and the mother offered them to the master. She then arranged food for Radhu and her son.
Hold on just one moment.
Sure.
Notice the simplicity.
Yes.
We don't need to make a big deal out of offering food to the Lord. The mother, again, is our role model. Simplicity, straightforwardness. Food is here, please come eat. And then you arrange it on the thing. You don't need to do a lot of mantras. You can, if you like that sort of thing. It's all, like they do in the pujas and so on. But it's not necessary. The thing to do is offer it from your heart. This is truly offered to you. That's all you need to do. Nothing elaborate need be done. And then have the feeling that it is taken, that it is received. And that when the period of your offering it is over, you can then take it as the Lord's prasad. And that is very holy indeed. But I just wanted to point out the simplicity. As a nun in Olima, California, said to my sister one time, my sister asked her a kind of complicated question about, what she could and couldn't do in the kitchen there. And the nun said to her very simply, "Oh, just please yourself, dear. This is not a kitchen religion." And so that made my sister very happy, that she could cook and offer as she pleased. So anyway, just this is not a kitchen religion.
She then arranged food for Radhu and her son and asked the monks and devotees to sit on the veranda for their meal. She sat on one side of the veranda, extending her legs, and watched them eat. Occasionally, she cooked 1 or 2 dishes and served them before she ate. The mother was bilious and suffered from a burning sensation in her body. So she preferred food that had a cooling effect on her system, such as urad dal, which is a lentil, poppy seed curry, and so on. For dessert, she would mix rice with milk and eat some. The leftovers were distributed among the disciples as prasad. After lunch, the mother cleaned her teeth with tobacco powder. She actually cleaned teeth after each meal. She then took some rest and some days visited her brothers' households to inquire about them. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the mother went to the pond and washed her sari. She then sat to cut vegetables for dinner and told her attendants the menu and how many people they would feed that night. At that time, Aunt Bhanu and other village women would come to her and she would inquire about their welfare.
Well, hold on just a moment.
Sure.
Notice that even in her home village, though very few recognized her in all her glory, I'll say, they did recognize her love, her compassion, and her wisdom. This Aunt Banu did have this sense of who Mother was. But many of the other women, the other village women, it says, would come and she would talk to them about their welfare. And they would present their family problems to her. And she would offer wise answers. Perhaps it'll say something about that as we go on. Thank you, Haima. That's
Sure, Brother Shankara. She always gave them some sweets and fruits. The villagers sincerely loved and respected her and called her aunt or mother. In that gathering, the mother talked about the master and shared her life stories, and the village woman also told many funny stories. In the evening, the mother performed arati, waving an oil lamp and burning camphor. She then sat for meditation on her bed. Towards the end, her body was weak, so she would lie down after a while, but she continued doing japa. Some evenings, I would read Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, part 3 to the mother. She was absorbed listening to the descriptions of Dakshineshwar and the master's talks and teachings.
the part 3 is about late 1984 and 1885. If for those of you who know the master's life story, that's the Katamrita came out in sections. It wasn't published all at once. Please go ahead, Haima.
Okay. Sometimes she said, aha, it seems so real, as if the master were talking right now in front of us. I am getting goosebumps. At that time, the out-of-town devotees sat near her and talked to her open-heartedly. They said, when the mother is at Calcutta, we do not get the opportunity to talk to her so freely and intimately. For that reason, the mother comes here for us, bearing so much hardship. After Arati, her attendants made chapatis with 5 pounds of flour. The cook only prepared rice and dal. At night, the mother ate 4 luchis, fried bread, 1 vegetable dish, and drank milk. The attendants prepared sago or barley for those who had a fever. After finishing the evening work, Mandakini, the mother's woman attendant, rubbed medicated oil on the mother's feet. The mother
also sometimes on her knees, which were, she suffered rheumatism in her knees.
The mother did not feel any shyness in front of Hari and me, as we were very close to her. We also rubbed her feet and back with that oil. Her body was very tender. She would get pain if we pressed too hard, so we were extremely careful in serving the mother. She used to say, Sarada and Hari are not my sons, they are my 2 daughters. They are my right hand and left hand in Jairambati. It is hard for me to function here without them.
Can you imagine hearing that about yourself? What? Talk about getting goosebumps. what souls these must have been to be so close to the mother, to be so dear to her. Okay.
Some days the mother asked me to sing some devotional songs. On days when Surabala and Radhu were out of control, the mother requested me to sing this song. Mother, this world is your crazy marketplace. Whom should I praise? That is the song. As she listened to this song, the mother laughed with joy and then lamented, my son, my household is indeed a crazy marketplace. If I were out doing some errands in the morning, I read her mail in the evening and she dictated her answers. One day I went on reading letters, but she just listened and kept quiet. Finally, she said, he who has money should give to charity for a noble cause. And he who has nothing should repeat the mantra. That's super. She continued, it means very little to God if one thinks, I have repeated the mantra so many times and practiced so much austerity. If Mahamaya, out of compassion, unlocks the path, then one can realize God. O human beings, take refuge in the Divine Mother, then only will she graciously open the path.
And if you want to know the details about that, read the Chandi, read the Devi Mahatmya. It's not a long book, but what is being spoken of here is, and this is why it's in this book and why Mother believed it, it is said to be the truth. Now, that doesn't mean you have to believe it. It's not dogma. But if you take refuge in the Mother, in the Divine Mother, not only does she unlock the path, but it says in the Chandi, those who take refuge in the Mother become a refuge to others. That is, she transforms you into her instrument to being a refuge for others. And I think we're going to have to leave it there.
Okay.
It's 9 o'clock.
Almost, yes.
So, and that's a good place to end.
Yes.
Because, and I encourage any of you who haven't, particularly now that we're in Durga, the Navaratri. If you don't have the Chandi, the Devi Mahatmyam, you can buy it online. You can come to the bookstore here and get it if you're close by. But it really does give us a great understanding of this being that came to us as Sarada Devi and why she is the way she is and what it means. It says that the Mother grants both enjoyment and liberation. And those who take refuge in the Mother verily become a refuge of others. That's a sweet thing to aspire to. So we'll leave it at that. Dearest, dearest, dearest Sarada Devi, a flower at your feet for each one who comes to your open door. A flower at your feet for each one who stands by your open door and says, come to me, offering to break this world's chain that binds us down to ignorance, suffering, and death. a flower at your blessed feet for each one who takes the path that you have struck through this, your jungle world. Om, Amen. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. And may we go forward in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Mother. Until next time, this is always such a delight.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
And so, for those of you who've been hearing rumors about my health situation, it's improving. I spent 4 days in the hospital for an internal bleeding episode and so on and so forth. I'm definitely on the mend, feeling stronger. La-di-da. You know, these old machines, they break down. Nothing to concern ourselves about. I don't seem to be going anywhere other than right here. And I'm feeling better than I was, as I think you can tell.
That's wonderful, Brother Shankara.
So, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Shri Durga, Jai Shri Durga, Jai Shri Durga. Any of you who are chanting, good for you.
Thank you.
And may you be safe, healthy, cheerful, and have peace of mind. Until
Thank you,
next
Brother
time.
Shankara.
See you Saturday, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Good night. Good night. Good night, Beverly. Beverly, can you be called now?
Yes.
Good. Okay, I need to go to the restroom, then I'll call you.
Okay.